When we paint, it's so important to think of the big shapes or the big masses, especially when it's a tricky or difficult subject, and this one definitely will give me a workout. So let's see how I go. Okay, it always sort of starts out very tentatively. This is kind of almost works as a semi-backlit scene because of the steam coming out of the chimney, the engine. And what that provides me with is a marvellous device to be able to put the darks of the chimney and the front of the train in front of that light. And with most painting, all it really is putting one shape in front of another. Sometimes they work out better than other times, but I think the lighting in this subject is what really grabbed me. There's lots of great atmospheric blues. There's a lot of great sharp edges. And with this one, I'm starting on the area that's my primary focal area, which is the chimney, the steam, and the front of the train. I've kind of been a train buff, or wouldn't say call myself a buff, more of a admirer of trains. And I don't know why, but ever since I was 3 and 4, I had a little train set. That's what I wanted for Christmas when I was very young. I think it's partly got to do with the architecture, and I think that's why I love painting them. There's circular shape, triangular shape at the bottom, down to another triangular shape. I'm not sure what they call that little part that must push logs and debris off the front path before the train runs over it. So there's another triangle. The chimney's sort of a little cylindrical shape. It's just all made up of shapes. So now we can bring in a little bit of that lovely cadmium red. But see how it's unified with the blue-green, and the red is the little exception to the rule. And that's where we're thinking in terms of use of colour, and colour distribution is probably the best word for that. How big am I making the green areas up against some of the colours in the grass, or the colours up against the background? Because ultimately we want our painting to have definite unification, but then a few little areas that just pop out. When it comes to shapes, I like to think of, if you have a little bit of geographical knowledge, Australia is one big country or continent, but we also have lots of little islands, but Tasmania being the biggest island right off the bottom. So when I'm doing a composition, I'm thinking that one big shape of the train is like the continent of Australia, and any other little shape that I'm dotting around is like the islands, like Tasmania, Kangaroo Island. There's a whole number of Rottnest Island. There's a whole heap of number. I think we've got 5,000 islands off Australia. So that's how I like to sort of think, and getting that one big shape, that one big continental shape, is a huge help, because then all we need is to get that shape to work, and then everything just needs to either support or help, as in directional lines, or interlock, or just provide some little accents away from that primary and secondary focal areas. So we have the grass area going in now. I just put the vertical signal post in there, just a basic vertical line mark, but I do like to do them with the hog hair brush. I find I get a better mark. It kind of helps cut through any other wet paint that may be already there. And that's a few of the little, I'm not sure, they're little signals, sort of the stop and go signals, but they have that black surround. I'm not sure what you would call that background part. Never really thought about that. But now I'm starting to bring in as much of the blue, and I would have experimented, I believe, with a little bit of phthalo blue in this to help push that background, because it is such a bluey green background. And this is such a great way to, instead of just leaving a white area, or the worst thing I think we can do at this stage is to put more paint on, especially titanium white. That's only going to slow that drying time down, make it harder in future as well. So actually I could almost think of this as a tractor on tracks. It's a mechanical entity, mechanical machinery, bit of machinery. So now we're getting those grassed areas. So lots of white, lots of titanium white. So wherever I see light, or the more light that is apparent, the more white I'll be using. And this is a 3/4 inch eclipse coma from Rosemary & Co. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to get a good enough look at it later, but it's actually a brush that I've kept. I've used it for all the usual work that I've done, but then it's kind of what I would consider a semi or a worn out brush. And what they do is they kind of splay open, but for grass, foliage, and I still can, with enough paint, get a nice sharp edge, but they're magnificent for those random shapes. Most brushes I want, and I believe we should have, is ones that will give me a found edge. That's what I'm doing now. I'm needing to find these edges, find these, and almost like hitting your mark as an actor. I need to be able to hit those marks where I need that dark to stop up against that light, or light up against the dark. But then we need soft, blurry, fuzzy, worn out brushes that will also help us to get those random shapes where and when we need. So I've just got the size 3 Master's Choice brush, which gives me a lovely edge, and it's giving me a very similar brush mark as the 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch eclipse coma. So I'm using a similar, it's not the same model or same brush, but it's in that similar family of sable, synthetic-y type brushes. And that was a good fun little brush mark to get in. It was the red up against the red, unfortunately, but and now with the benefit of hindsight, I couldn't have put green. It had to be red because it was telling the cars to stop because there was a crossing just nearby. So I'll put those big brush marks in, and then I'll refine it with the small brush. I can see one little compositional little mistake. See where just below that little horizontal line on the train is lining up with the shadow and the highlight just at the base of that tree. I will soften that and bring that down later. It's funny, some little things you just, in the hustle and bustle of the painting day, you just do not notice what's happening. Because the one thing I was conscious when I was painting this was that I'm not sure if this background is strong enough. It's blending a little too much. But after finishing the painting and revising it, I thought, no, that worked out well. Because there is a danger, even though it is, and that's where it's eliminating and editing, even though something might be as it is in real life, do we need to replicate that to make the painting work? And that's the other learned aspect of painting that we do need to sort of trial and error but have in our thought process as well. So it looks like I'm getting that really important part. I've got that steam coming in, and that was a part that I knew was important to get to work. So now I've gone back to the small brushes to wrap things up, just putting those little, almost I like to think of it as dotting the I's and crossing the T's, just to refine, because a lot of times it is that last 10% that's what makes a painting. Thankfully I stuck to the script with this painting. I knew it was going to be important, and it definitely did pay off. I got those lovely blues in the distance, the light in the foreground, and everything really came together beautifully. The steam was tricky. I was almost using pure white, even though when people think, oh, that's something wrong, that's what you're not supposed to do, but with a tiny little bit of mud on the brush, it's never pure white, I find. So I think it worked out really well in this concept. Hope you enjoyed it. All the best. Bye for now.